Okay, so this video is just to demonstrate quickly how you can set up basically a replacement of option sets. Now, as with anything with Data Jedi, like it's not going to be every single use case of option sets should be or could be replaced by this approach. But for things that you would maybe use as like categories, subcategories, or other options that otherwise maybe have large lists that become very tedious to manually enter and also update and maintain, as well as types of data that maybe previously was thought as not appropriate for option sets, maybe because of the amount of data necessary or the need for your users to create it and making it sort of dynamic in that way. So with being able to kind of leverage Data Jedi and approaches with it is an ability to kind of replace option sets. So what you can do, once you have communicated with ChatGPT and gotten a array of things in a form that you need it, you can then just copy that. You can go into your API connector. You can get into a data call that you create, or rather an API that you create. I call this my data structures. You can then create a new call, label it what you would. I'm going to call this one category. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and manually enter API response. I'm going to paste in this entire array. I don't really need to paste in the entire array. I could just paste in one value, but as long as it's valid JSON, it's fine. I click on save. I can initialize it in some other terms here. And so like ID, if I look back at what it was that I was given by ChatGPT, I think that they gave me IDs. Yeah, it's in green as ChatGPT normally does with numbers, and it doesn't have double quotes, which indicates it is a number type. But in terms of saving this, for some reason, it's not getting picked up as such, so I should automatically set that up myself. Because if not, you will end up having some kind of an issue with the way in which things get initialized. So then here, I'm going to add another call. I'm going to call this one subcategory. And then I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down. I got to get my subcategories from them. And so once I had that ready, I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to manually enter that API response and click that and press paste. These things, you do want to make it number and number as well for there. So making sure that it's going to match. This is the category ID, which is of type number, and so you do want to make it type number, because when you go to try and compare to be able to see the relationships between subcategories and categories, you are going to be referencing the number. They should be of the same type. And so we'll just leave that as that and press save. So now we can come onto a design page. We can go in and set up a repeating group. And in that repeating group, we can then go ahead and say that the type of content is going to be our value we want, like subcategory. Now on the page, I do need to set up a data Jedi element, and I can do this like this. I will give it the name of subcategory, and then here I will tell it that it is that type. Now I have a lot of options. This is very flexible. Insert dynamic data. You could put it into a data type and save it as a field. And what I'm saying, what you'd be saving is just this JSON array right here. So as I'm doing it for the subcategories, that's the one I'm working with. Now I could just put it directly into this if I wanted to, and so long as like the JSON's not very big, it's not going to be any kind of a drag on performance whatsoever. In fact, this is just going to get it in there even quicker than any other approach, such as keeping it as like a field on a data type, being a text field, or saving it in as an option set. You can do that as well. And I've done that as an example use case here with like states, and I have expanded that to put in state list, city list, and I toyed with doing it here as well. But there are many different approaches that you can take in terms of how do you feed in what is your JSON that is necessary for this type of data to exist. And so here, when I take this subcategory, I'll be able to go ahead and reference this now and I'll be taking the data source as the data Jedi subcategory value list. And then here, let's just get rid of that, and I can take this and I can go ahead and start adding in the different field values, because you can read those right off of each other. And if I'm in need of being able to reference and find like what is its parent category, I can just go ahead, copy and paste over, and just make the simple changes here, and I can get my category list back in and come to here and paste that in there. And let's just go ahead, change the name. All right, so if I want to, in my subcategories repeating group, reference what is its parent category, I can by saying current cells subcategory's name. Well, I'm just gonna actually here clear that expression, insert dynamic expression, reference my data Jedi that is the category, and value list and filter it, and then I'm going to take what is the ID equals and this current cell's subcategories category ID. So and then first item, and then I'll get to my name of the category. So if I go ahead and preview this right now, we have house cleaning, cleaning, deep cleaning, cleaning. So I can expand upon the usage of this, and I can end up putting it into my database as a data type, like having a field on a data type to maybe use it in a profile or something. And so long as you do not change the IDs of these things, then you will always be able to make reference to them. And so what this does is, one, clearly makes it very simple to put together larger lists of option sets, because you are avoiding the need to manually enter them, and not only like manually entering them, but like one by one. And so if you wanted to have more attributes, I mean, when you're speaking to ChatGPT, you just ask it, like, give me more key value pairs, give me more examples of fields I should maybe include. Clearly here, there's more than one, it's two. So if you thought about it, ID is like your display, name is like an attribute of type text. So you could really get a lot more value out of how you maybe implement types of data that don't need to be secured in any way, because they are prime targets for option sets, but because of like bubble limitations, you don't necessarily get to take advantage of those option sets, and so therefore finding other ways to try to store them. So with this, not only are you able to get it to a point of essentially like we have an ability now to have larger option sets, you can actually have dynamic option sets and allow your users to create them, and you just on your own figure out what's the best way to store the JSON inside of your database. And that could be, instead of just being JSON, you actually store them as the objects that are the data type that you would have initialized inside of the API connector here, and can store them in the database. Because if I go into data here, data types, and I create a profile, and I want to know, well, what type of a category does this profile offer services for, I'm able to just use that data type there. And so being able to save these objects, and then just in the value data type JSON, if you save those objects in your database as a data field on a data type, just do the search for the data type with the unique ID, or rather just first item, because it should just be one, and therefore it is a single item return. It's just 0.15 workload units. It just doesn't even make sense to worry about that sort of workload unit if you're basically getting an ability to have a much larger set of options with even dynamic capabilities and everything that comes along with that. Like, just choose the way in which you store this based on your use case and your needs, and just take advantage of the fact that now you can leverage a LLM of your choice to spit out a JSON array in a matter of seconds, and takes you just a couple more minutes to put together the setup to be able to make use of it in the app as an option set.